So with the cello part for this Appalachian Sunrise, this is a very legato piece, so all of the bow strokes has to be very smooth and connected. There are a few times in here where we'll have accents, but accents always have to be done within the context of the music. So I'll point it out once we get to it. But for the sake of playing very beautiful, we have to have a very relaxed bow hand. And when you bow, you have to have the flexibility both with the wrist, with the fingers, just to keep the bow moving at all times. Try not to let it stop. And definitely for this piece, you want to warm it up with your vibrato. So try and work on your vibrato. I have a couple exercises that I'll get to in another video, but you want to make sure that you're just trying to think of the warmest, most beautiful tone you can get with this piece. So starting from the top, we have key of C major, so we're thinking third fingers on the G string for B natural, third fingers for E natural on the C string, but second finger on the D string and second finger on the A string for the F natural and the C natural. So be aware of your key signature and how it implies what fingers to use on your instrument. Now, for this opening, I have it marked open A, but you have to be very careful if you're going to play that open A. The A string tends to be very bright, so sometimes it's good to just go to fourth position for that A so that we avoid the timbre. So if you want, it's maybe extra credit if you do this, but you want to make sure that you're getting the most beautiful tone. Of course, you're going to have to practice it, and Mr. Kaye needs to practice his cello. So just for that note. Actually a little bit easier too because you're not crossing from the G string all the way over to the A string. So if you do decide on doing that, be careful not to have a big swoop. It's not the right character. So there's a couple ways you can achieve that. So when you get to the shift, just slow your bow down ever so slightly. Make your shift as you're slowing your bow down, and then once you know you got it, then you can play it out, right? And then make that diminuendo into measured 5. So this whole thing at 5 is really, really soft. On the D string, and it is a forte, but again, for my ears, I really like to stay away from it as much as you can. Beautiful cello line. And the nice thing is, it's such a beautiful note, you can get up to that fourth position, just really wiggle and get a good vibrato. This section, of course, you have the G sharp. So G sharp is low 1. And then go right back to first position. set that fourth finger for the F on the C string, then you block it so you can get that C to speak immediately right after. And we're not doing no hopping. And then do the swell up and down. So this next section from 29 on, just making it beautiful, being careful of the notes, attention to the details like the dynamics. And then when you get to 37, this is where you actually get the tune. So play it out. You do share it with the violins. First violin continues the second half of the melody, but you guys, cellos, really have to dig in at the beginning. And then less on this D, then back to the melody. Nice and piano. And look, that A. You don't have to do all those fancy fingerings, but definitely it's okay once you get to that forte. And don't get sharp like Mr. Kaye, but it's, if you notice the way the phrasing's done here is really, it builds upon itself. So measure 48, we have this crescendo, and right before that crescendo you have an accent. Now that's what I was talking about before with this accent. It can't be a forced accent because we're in a very legato section. So the accent really should come more from the left hand with vibrato. So give just a little bit more wiggle. And then it'll come out more and it'll still have its beauty. So and then this whole section, like at 50, you have a comma there, and that comma usually means to bow lift, but Miss Gazda did not want you to bow lift here. She's just indicating that the phrase ends and then you start another phrase on that forte. So think immediately louder, but a whole new phrase on top of what you just played. If you notice the way I end the phrase, try not to end abruptly. You don't want to be and stick it. You just want to beautiful. Share those little swells, and it's not really written in your music, but you should do swells. As you go up, you go to the highest note, and then you come back down. And those are called cup tones, K-O-P-F. Going up to the high tone, and then coming back down. So making more out of the music. And then you and the violas have that, and you share those little melodic passages. like at 63, C string, I would play into it. Cellos and violas have that unique C string quality, so play out on that E and the F. And then you can get softer. Just be careful when you get to the G sharp there, so that you extend, then you come back to first position, and then you have your F sharp as. And it's very tricky, but you can always check with that open G to make sure that those Gs are in tune. So this is definitely a spot that you must practice and get used to. Caesura, so we take a break. That's what those railroad tracks are. And then allargando means to broaden, so we're going to take even more time. And then we have all these tenuto marks, lines on top of the quarter notes. So you're going to give a little bit more stress to the notes. It's not quite an accent, but more along the lines of that détaché stroke. Not détaché, I'm sorry. More martelé, but still with the legato quality. Sorry, allargando. And then I'm going to really need that cello section to play out. You guys are the only ones that move. I think the basses move with you. So low end of the orchestra has to keep that going. So really, it's a very powerful piece. You want to practice it carefully. Always think of the tone. Think about vibrato. Think about legato. Check those notes. If you're daring enough, I would suggest do a couple of those fourth position A's just to avoid the timbre of that open A string. So I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just go ahead and place them on Google Classroom, and I will be able to get some feedback to you. And good luck, and I'll hear you in February and March.